Canon C400 is what I like to call an easy-to-use cinema camera, much like the EOS C70 that I'm using right now. This past week, I was sick and I had a few days with the C400 and I needed to do something really for this video, but also just to get out of my sickness rut and get some creativity out of me. And so I decided to do some tests and I wanted to simply break down the images I got with them and my experience using the Canon C400. The C400 uses Canon's Digic DV7 processor and it's an impressive camera with 16 stops of dynamic range. A key difference here for me as a C70 user is that while I believe the C70 also claims to have 16 stops of dynamic range, we're using a different type of sensor. This is a Super 35 sensor first and foremost, but it's also a DGO sensor. The C400 differs because it is a back illuminated, double stacked CMOS sensor. So for all the footage that we're about to check out, everything I shot was in the Cinema Raw Light HQ setting. So for this first scene, as she's entering the living room, we have everything back illuminated with that practical light behind her, as well as the lights coming in from the windows. And I have the key light just off into the corner of the right of the frame that is just kind of trying to fill in and give us some more of that natural look. Now I want to show you what the raw file looked like before I added conversions into C-Log 2 and then did a color grade in Resolve. I think what's pretty phenomenal about this footage is just the abilities that you have in post-production. Converting it from its raw image into a C-Log 2 image, which then I could grade to Rec 709, which then I could add my color grading to, was easy in Resolve, which is great, but it is always really inspiring and pretty awesome to see what you could do with raw footage. For this particular scene, I was using the Canon 24-70 for a little bit of a wider image, and then I was using the RF 135mm for the tights that you're seeing here. Moving on to this next scene here, I wanted to go for a clean look here in the kitchen, but then kind of like a stylized, like warm evening scene at the dining room table. For this first shot, we just have a key light coming from the right side of the screen, and it is illuminating things and making things look really great. This was shot on the 135mm at a very low aperture, I think f1.2, I believe that's what I went down to. But in this first frame, I was just drooling, especially just seeing the light play off of the water as it's going into the cup. And also the grade just looked really clean to me. That's just really, really phenomenal. I mean, we're just in my dining room with one light. Now going over to the dining room table was a bit of a challenge. I actually didn't use any key light, I just used this green lamp that you see here in frame, and it is a weird lamp. It's like old tube, like, what are they called? It's like old tube fluorescent lights. It's a vibe, it's a cool lamp to have, but yeah, I really struggled with my white balance on this one. And so I thought, okay, let me go ahead and bring things down, make it a little bit more of a moodier vibe, and see what the camera can do with a very limited light source. I do think things panned out pretty well. You can see here that like I think my exposure was a little off. Like there's maybe some like blowout here on her hand from the light itself. But other than that, I still think the image looks really good. And it shows me that it can handle some low light situations, which is something Canon has not been known for in the past. And moving on to this last scene, this is an all natural look, and I wanted to go ahead and give it a little bit more of a stylized, like ambient, moody feel. I was kind of getting the vibes of like cologne commercial, perfume commercial, or fashion commercial shoot. And so we just set up outside, and honestly, right around this time of day, the light was nice and soft, and we just did a slow pan in with the 135mm lens, and it turned out to be really cool. While it's not maybe the most engaging image that you're seeing today, I wanted to put it to the test and see what it could do in a natural setting, and I also wanted to see what I could get with just a simple black and white image. Something I did for this one, which I think I might have overdone just a little bit, is I added some 35mm grain onto the image. I just wanted that vintage like aesthetic and that look. I think it was a little overdone. I could probably pull that back a little bit. I wanted to keep it in for all intents and purposes, just to show, you know, that the image itself, you can add a lot of post-processing and artifacting to the image in post, and it's gonna still look good. So let me give you some final thoughts and things that I really enjoyed about the C400. As a C70 user, it is refreshing and nice to have a full frame censored cinema camera. I think that the double stack backlit CMOS sensor did contribute to the low light performance, which is something that I do struggle with the C70. I just have to be a little bit more crafty and a little bit more clever with how I expose the camera. All of these editing softwares now, you can do a lot of denoising in post and really get away with a lot. So I know that we like to talk about its low light performance, and obviously we want to be able to get the right image in camera first, but you can recover stuff in post nowadays and it doesn't feel highly artificial. And so I think there is something to be said about that, where while it is still a priority and something that I think that we should continue to value as creators and filmmakers, it isn't necessarily something that needs to be like the end all be all. I think the things that we should be looking for in reality are the things that help us create faster, help us create more efficiently, and help us achieve our ultimate vision for our projects. I love how Canon goes with these larger bodies and adds all of these buttons on the side, on the front of the cameras. Having your ND filters built in is so nice. Being able to tap plus and minus to add or remove is truly fantastic, and they are the same mechanical ND filters that you do have here in the C70 and other cinema cameras like that. I believe it's also the same that is in the C80. And that actually is a great segue, because that leads me into something that I was thinking about the entire time that I was using the C400 is, wow, when am I gonna get my hands on the C80? Because the C80 is a full frame cinema camera in a smaller body. Now, I'm not sure about the sensor size, and I'm not sure about the type of sensor. Is it just the DGO sensor? Is it a double stacked backlit sensor? I'd be really curious to see that and even compare them, and even maybe line them up between the C70, the C80, and the C400, and just do some quality tests. That would really yield some interesting results. I hope that this image kind of breakdown and scene breakdown was helpful. I wanted to kind of just dive into me using the camera practically. You know, we can talk about the cameras and what they can do, but if we're not using them, I just think it's kind of a waste of time, and it's like we're not adding anything new to the conversation. So thank you guys so much. It was fun hanging out with you, fun just kind of showing you around, showing you the things that I was able to capture, and I will see you in the next one. All right, peace.